Hi, my name is Linda Simsick, and I'm a member of the Alabama Woodworkers Guild. Every Tuesday morning, there's a group of woodworkers that meet to make toys for children that may be sick or underprivileged, don't have a home, facing difficult circumstances. Today, we are going to show you how we turn this piece of scrap wood into a little car that will make some child very happy.
The wood that we get often comes in like in this bin. This is from Habitat for Humanity. We have an arrangement with them where they give us their cutoffs. We also get wood from contractors. We get wood from members that have excess wood, and we've had people just come by and donate wood in the past. But generally it starts off as a short piece of wood, a 2x4. Occasionally we'll get longer pieces, but they all generally get cut up into small pieces. So small pieces are okay. Normally the first step is going to the joiner to clean up the sides a little bit, and so you can lay a pattern on it and to get a sharp straight edge. I'm going to go ahead and run. Okay. This is a good example because it's got some bark intrusions on the side, and generally we might just use this one to start with, and you can lay out the cars. It might make 2 cars on here around the knots, not using the knots, and then eventually it would be cut out with a bandsaw. We could go to the table saw, but typically we can clean it up the majority of the time right off with the joiner.
I'm going to take the wood and I'm going to draw a car on it. We have several different ones, but I picked out this Ford Explorer here. Woo. I have a car. Now it's going to go to the drill press, and they're going to make the holes in it that will send it on its way.
This is the car that was just drawn off of the piece of wood, and there's 2 different size holes in it. The smaller holes for axles, the larger hole is to simulate a window in the car. So we come here, we drill it from one side and then also drill it from the other side. That way it keeps from blowing out the wood. You bore the back side, that way you get a nice clean hole. And now then, we go and we drill the axle holes, which is just a little over 1/4 inch, because we use 1/4 inch axles in this. Now the window has been drilled out, and the 2 axle holes have now been drilled out. And from here, it goes to the bandsaw to be cut out.
Well, the first thing, due to the rules we have, you have to put the tension on the blade and raise the arm to give you room to cut and lock it in place. And you should always check the guides, both you can't. They're ceramic white guides, one on each side of the blade and one behind the blade, both at top and bottom. You should check those to make sure they're correct. If they're not, you should be adjusting them. But once you do all of that and you've had the item drawn out on the board and drilled, it's ready for cutting. We normally would have the dust control system on. But it's just a matter of cutting up. Following the line on cutting up whatever it is your item it is. It might be a car, it may be an animal, it may be several different things. So that part of it, next it will go to somebody to sand it.
Hi, I think you've seen Cliff already cut this out. Once we get it cut out, it's got some saw blade burrs in it, that sort of thing. With the kids, you really can't have any kind of splintering on the wood at all. So the next thing we wind up doing is going and doing sanding. So I like using this particular sander because it's got a couple of round areas that we can get down into pretty good. And that's pretty much what we wind up doing to get it off. Normally you would go ahead and try to round over some of the edges so that they're not sharp, but with all the cars that we do, we will send them to the router table to do a round over. So we'll put about a 1/8 inch round over on that. And it's always a good practice that while you're doing this, in between each 4 or 5 cars, what we'll do is wind up cleaning up the belt as well. And that's how we sand it.
All right, this particular car has been cut out, drilled, sanded, but it will go to some child, usually in a hospital, and we do not want sharp edges and sharp points on it. So we round everything off on the router table. We have a round over bit in here, and I'll show you how we go about rounding things off. We even round over the windows so that, you know, maybe stick a finger in there could hurt them, get a splinter or something. And that's usually the first thing you do is round the window. And then round it all the way around. And we do that on both sides. So now we have a smooth edge all around. Every edge of the car is now rounded over so that there won't be any splinter or any possible injury to a child. And next, it would go to somebody to assemble the wheels on it and go from there.
Okay, the next step is to size the vehicle so that we can cut the axles to the proper length. The reason why we have to do this is not every car and piece of wood is exactly the same depth. So we want to make sure that the axles fit properly. We don't want them too big because they could break off, and we certainly don't want them too short because then the car won't roll. So I'm going to do this on the bandsaw. We have a jig here, a cross-cut sled, and I'll show you how we size the wheel. We put this little block here, which is the thickness of 2 wheels. Set that there, and then you put the car flush up against it. And then we have a stopper back here that we slide up next to the car. And that's what it looks like after you've set everything up. Next, I do 2 axles at a time. It makes things go much faster. So I line up the 2 1/4-inch dowels. We use 1/4-inch dowels for just about everything around here, but all of the axles that we make for the vehicles and the little rolling toys are made from 1/4-inch dowels. Now, on a normal work day, I'll be doing a lot more than just 1 set of axles, but that's how we do it. Next, what we'd like to do is round the edges of the dowels a little bit to make it easier to put through the holes of the wheels.
Anything?
All right, we take the dowel she just made and we round the edges a little bit so it'll go down in the hole easier. Push them through. And must not have rounded it enough. One of the other things that we do is animals on wheels. And this is an example. We basically do it like we did the car. We draw it off, and when it's finished, we give it to the bandsaw people, and they, not bandsaw, I'm sorry, they scroll saw, and they cut it, and then it also has to go to a drill press to have the holes put in it.
Okay, this is going to be cut, this is going to be a pull toy, I can tell that, because it's 3/4 stock. Now, if it was thinner material like these, it would be a puzzle that I would cut out. But this one being 3/4, it's going to be a pull toy. It doesn't have to be super accurate, super precise, because each one of these is going to be different. So if I run out of the line a little bit, that's not a big deal, okay? Now this will go to drill. Oops, I got one more piece to cut. Now they'll go to the drill press to drill axle holes in it.
All right, now this morning I'm going to show y'all how to build a child's birdhouse. Obviously, this is not a full-size birdhouse, but this is some birdhouses we build for the children at the hospitals. And what they do is they receive them like this, and they paint them however they want to paint them.
And so this will be the finished product here in just a little bit. In order to get started, we don't buy birdhouse kits, we make them. And it's made out of that same scrap lumber that you saw the cars made out of. They're just cut different. All of this is about 1/4 inch thick, and they are 9 pieces that it takes to make a birdhouse. You've got 2 for the roof, 1 for the bottom, you got 2 for the sides, and you get a back and a front with the hole, and you get a bird perch, and then you get, I guess this is the roof line on the top. All right, in order to get started to building the birdhouse, you need to make the roof first. So we have this little jig that comes in handy that holds these in place, and that keeps it at a 45. And I'm going to put a little glue on here, and I'm going to show you how these things go together. Hopefully I can do this pretty quickly. You line them up just like that. And then we take this 1/4 inch dowel, it's about 4 inches long, and I forgot to mention that we do sand these pieces, just like we do on the other toys, to make sure there's no splinters or rough edges. So we take this, put just a little glue on here, like that. And these things are cut a 1/4 inch longer than the roof, and it sticks out over the side about a 1/4 inch. And that just gives it a little decorative touch to it there. All right, so we put 2 on each end, and we got about 4 of these jigs, so we made about 8 of those, and let them sit and dry. All right, now that you and see, here's the finished product. They're already ready to go. So we have another jig that we use to hold the pieces in place while we put them together. We take one of the 3 by 3 1/4 pieces, same size as those roof pieces, lay that on the bottom. We take the solid piece with the gable and the back side, and this will be the back of the birdhouse. And if you notice, these pieces have a dovetail in them that kind of helps hold it together when we get through. It also helps when you're putting the glue on, you hold your mouth just right so it'll go on just like that. Okay, when we stand that up on the back, we take the 2 side pieces. These are 3 by 3. Put a little glue on them. We just put it on 3 sides. Like so. And they fit in that groove like that. Do the same with the other one. The ends where the wood's cut, that glue really soaks down in there, and that makes a good bond on it. So that's why I kind of keep pushing it on there, and it just soaks it right up. And then we stand that on there, and you can see where it will fit right in that dovetail, just like that. So, okay. Final for the sides is the front. And you notice I've already put the peg in it. It comes in just like that with a 1/4 inch hole. We use a 1/4 inch dowel. I normally put a little glue on there, but once those are hammered in there, chances are they're not going to come out. But we still glue those just because. Okay, so put a little on there. Put a little in the groove. Just like that. We try not to put too much glue on there because, you know, it just runs out. We'll have to wipe it all off. And as you see, this little jig really comes in handy to hold this thing in place like so. And then I take my little damp paper towel, wipe off the excess glue. And we have it like that. Now, by me moving it around, it kind of gets out of whack, so I double check the square sides, make sure it's squared up. All right, now, we're getting ready to put the roof on. Just put it on these gable ends. We don't put any glue here because the roof doesn't really touch it. Like so. Now, I did not do this in this demonstration, but normally I would have sanded those edges like that because you see some of those splinters from the crosscut is sticking out. Although that really wouldn't see it because it would be under the roof. Now we just put the roof on like so. We put it flush on the back. We kind of mash down on it a little bit. Gives it one more look all the way around before we set it up, because sometimes it will slide on the bottom and it'll get out of square. So now that birdhouse is ready. It'll just sit up to dry, and then you'll have the finished product just like this. Thank you.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I want to thank you for watching, and we hope to see you all at the Toy Group on Tuesday morning, 9 a.m.